At midnight, a man fed coins into a payphone, then calmly reported a murder only he could know. The woman on the line heard breathing first, slow enough to make the receiver feel alive. He gave the police directions, hung up, and left one fingerprint too faint to save anyone. 7 months earlier, 2 teenagers parked on a dark road expecting privacy, not history. Their car door opened, the night snapped white, and Lake Herman Road became a secret grave marker. Police wrote down tire tracks, shell casings, and the first absence that would haunt them. There was no manifesto, no symbol, no name, just 2 families waiting beside telephones. Then July 4th arrived with fireworks, headlights, and a couple pulled into Blue Rock Springs. Another car stopped behind them, sat still, drove away, then returned like a thought reconsidered. Michael Mago survived by inches, but the voice at the payphone survived by design. He claimed both attacks, almost bored, as if correcting a mistake in the public record. The dispatcher did not know she had just heard America's Next Nightmare introduce himself. 27 days later, 3 newspapers received 3 envelopes, each carrying 1/3 of a locked confession. The letters demanded front pages, threatening more bodies if the editors refused. One editor held the cipher near the light, searching for the killer's name between symbols. Instead, the page looked like rain made of knives, neat rows hiding a man's appetite. Publishing meant obeying him, but silence meant waiting for another roadside call. The presses thundered anyway, feeding his private symbols into thousands of breakfast tables. In one kitchen, Donald Harden stared at the code as if it were a misbehaving student. Betty noticed the repeated symbols first, the way a housewife notices a misplaced cup. They worked through the night, coffee cooling beside them, while the killer waited for applause. The solution arrived not from a badge, but from 2 pencils moving across a kitchen table. The cipher confessed pleasure, obsession, and death, but the promised name was missing. That absence mattered, because America had mistaken a taunt for a clue. For days later, a new letter began with words that turned him into a brand. "This is the Zodiac speaking" was not a confession, it was a stage entrance. He understood newspapers better than detectives, because fear travels faster when printed before breakfast. Parents checked back seats, lovers avoided turnouts, and editors opened mail like bomb squads. Then came Lake Berryessa, where the killer stopped hiding behind paper. Brian Hartnell saw the hood first, then the white crossed circle stitched over the chest. Cecilia Shepard thought it might be a robbery, and that mistake bought her only minutes. He spoke politely, tied them carefully, and turned courtesy into something colder than rage. If the ciphers were theater, this costume was the mask dropping into daylight. But the strangest clue was not on the shore, it was waiting on a car door. He wrote dates like trophies, turning sheet metal into a murderer's ledger. Then he called again, reporting the attack before the lake could return to silence. Detectives had evidence now: handwriting, a voice, a symbol, and 2 survivors. What they did not have was the one thing every newspaper promised: a face. The twist was hiding in plain sight, the codes were never meant to identify him. They were bait, forcing strangers to stare at his mind until his name felt unnecessary. While police chased symbols, he chose a new arena, a city cab under fog. Paul Stein accepted the fare, never knowing his passenger had changed the rules again. This time, the victim was not hidden on a lover's lane, he was parked under houses. Witnesses watched from windows, close enough to see him wipe the cab clean. The first description went wrong, and somewhere nearby, the real man kept walking. 3 days later, the newspaper received proof no hoaxer could fake. Inside lay a torn piece of Stein's shirt, a trophy mailed with perfect timing. Now the letters were not claims, they were chain links tying murder to media. The city wanted a monster, but detectives had a stationery problem. Every stamp, fold, and misspelling became evidence, because his handwriting kept returning like a fingerprint. Then he mailed a new cipher, 340 characters long, and the room went quiet again. The first code had fallen in days. This one would outlive typewriters, newspapers, and suspects. He also threatened school buses, making parents imagine children framed inside yellow windows. Police flooded the hills with patrol cars, chasing a threat that might only be ink. But ink had already done what bullets could not. It made everyone participate. On television, a frightened caller claimed to be him, and America leaned closer. The real Zodiac later denied it, insulted the spectacle, then built another spectacle himself. Each message sounded less like panic and more like authorship, as though murder required editing. In December, he wrote to lawyer Melvin Belly, begging help while enclosing another shirt fragment. He claimed he was drowning, but his stamps remained steady. Detectives studied suspects with trembling patience, because every promising lead arrived carrying its own poison. Arthur Lee Allen looked close enough to haunt them, yet never close enough to close the door. Handwriting disagreed, fingerprints resisted, uncertainty kept slipping back into the fog. Reporters kept the name alive, and Paul Avery began receiving Halloween cards with sharper teeth. Some letters may have been his, some may have been echoes, but all fed the same machine. Then, almost impossibly, the voice faded, leaving everyone staring at paper instead of a man. The confirmed dead remained 5, the claimed number climbed to 37, and doubt filled the gap. Families aged, detectives retired, the envelope sat in storage, still refusing to become ordinary paper. Every decade produced a new suspect, and every suspect produced the same bruise, almost. In 1992, Allen died, taking suspicion with him but leaving proof behind. The case became a room people entered willingly, even when they knew no exit existed. Online forums replaced kitchen tables, but the same question blinked inside every screen. Who was he, and why did his puzzles feel more durable than his crimes? In 2020, 3 code breakers finally cornered the 340 cipher after 51 years. The message emerged from the machine, and for 1 second, history held its breath. It mocked the gas chamber, denied the television caller, and still refused the name everyone wanted. After half a century, the cipher had answered only one thing: Zodiac still wanted attention. The FBI confirmed the solution, but confirmation is not capture. The case remained open, a locked door with a solved riddle taped to it. That is why Zodiac endures. He turned failure into a public ritual. Every false solution gives him another headline, another afterlife, another borrowed pulse. The victims become names we must repeat carefully, so the killer's name stays absent. Betty Lou Jensen, David Faraday, Darlene Ferrin, Cecilia Shepard, and Paul Stein remain the center. Michael Mago and Brian Hartnell carried memories no cipher could protect them from. For detectives, the worst evidence is not missing evidence, but evidence that almost speaks. A stamp might hold skin, a fold might hold pressure, a letter might still hold breath. But until science speaks louder than symbols, Zodiac remains a silhouette built from paper. He wanted immortality, but immortality has a price. Everyone keeps examining the mask. Somewhere in the files, his hand may still be touching the page. Until then, the Zodiac speaks only when we open the envelope.